So we're going to return to a bit more normalcy this morning, or this afternoon, or the previous night, depending on where you are in the world. So we got Frankjoetank stepping in for his first community challenge, so a new American contender. He's going for that early barracks, but he's not actually gathering anything else at the moment. So it's a bit of an interesting strat, because really you want to be getting a little bit of wood so you can go for that early storehouse. Up against Deadpan, a bit of a veteran, played in some early tournaments and had a few years off the game. He's come back, he's played in a couple of show matches already. He'll be playing in the next tournament, which you guys should check out. We've got a bracket of 21 players so far. We're definitely going to get to about 23 or 4, I think. So Deadpan playing a more greedy opening here, double storehouse. No hunting dogs just yet, so he is giving himself a good opportunity to get spears. I have no idea what Frank's doing at the moment. So I'm going to have a bit of a word to Frank about his opening here, because this is a bit questionable. He's not going to have any resources to do anything. Not even training at the moment. Not ideal. Deadpan going to be able to go for that barracks. Already built himself a little villager lead here, so that's always handy. So yeah, I'll have a chat with Frank about that after this game. Get his build orders working well. We've got a couple of spears here, but Deadpan can literally kill these with the scout if he wants to just kite them for like 3 minutes. Just gonna do circles here. So he's getting a couple of spears of his own just to defend. Probably look at just setting up for age 2 because he knows he's in a better spot economically. Alright, so a bit of backseat coaching from the commentator. So he's trying to go for an early game rush, but this is the problem. That's sort of what makes the difference between beginner players and more advanced players doing rushes, is that the early game players, when they're inexperienced, will basically just tunnel vision on production. And like Frank's not even, military production, and even they're not necessarily get as much of that out. So Deadpan right now is not rushing, he's got 4 spears. Frank, in his own mind, is rushing, he's also only got 4 spears. So right now Deadpan's got a massive lead without even really having to do anything. So yeah, Frank's just going to pump out spears, and I mean he can afford to do so, but the problem is he can't scale up anything. Deadpan will be able to, well, already has aged up, will be able to go for a second barracks, or will be able to just go for the stone for a second town centre, and in either case he just pulls further and further ahead. And this is not great for Frank. He's already invested a lot into these spears up against Axeman, so this is never a good trade. So I will find Frank a better opponent next time I get him in, as well as give him a little bit more coaching. Because no offense to him, because he's definitely not the first player to be caught in this situation. I used to be a player like that a long time ago, and so did most of the other good PvPers. It was really only the guys that had a lot of other online RTS experience that, you know, were good players straight out of the box. But at the end of the day, you know, you can't not make economic units. even the hardest rushes in just about any game still produce economic units. You just make less of them at points. Like you might cut them, or you might forego placing a second building to, produce them in parallel in multiples of 2 or 3 rather than just 1. While the rusher, he's only got the 1 building that he can produce them out of, but he still wants to continually make them, because otherwise his rush, is going to fall off even harder. Frank, a couple of idlers here. That's also not ideal because Deadpan macro very silky smooth. No villagers idle, getting a lot of economic upgrades, and he'll be able to get out of this pretty easily. How many spears aren't going to threaten the town centre? Might get a villager kill because Deadpan's watching elsewhere, but no, he doesn't in the end. And this is not good for Frank. He's now got a bunch of idle villagers here getting picked off. When I say perfect vill production to about 30, that's like if you're going for like the absolute hardest 1 TC rushes. And even then you still want to have them being produced up to about 65, 70. To give yourself the opportunity to be able to fight with 100 military and have a bit of an eco to back it up and replenish stuff. But that also, when you are rushing like that doesn't mean sit in your base all game long and hope to just get 1 decisive strike. You have to really poke and prod as much as you can and constantly be putting your opponent who's playing greedier in a situation where they're not really getting any value out of it, killing villagers constantly, stopping their army from catching up to yours in size, things like that. So I think this will be a GG here. Frank hasn't really got anything left at this point. Frank's holding on to the bitter end here, but we'll probably get Smeagol into play. Smeagol versus Deadpan up next, I'd say. So GG, and actually, I'll do a bit of a recap of sort of why that went down the way it did. So there were a lot of stretches there where Frank just wasn't making any villages, and like I said, if you don't have that constant growth in your economy, you can't have a constant growth in your army, and you can't afford, economic techs or aging up or anything like that. Whereas Deadpan was on 31 villages to when Frank was on, well actually let's have a look here, would have been on 26 villages when Frank was on 14. So it's a very big gap. Your opponent's basically already got double the economy you do. And, you hit too late with the rush. So if you are going to rush, you still need to obviously have that quick barracks, but that doesn't mean getting it and foregoing being able to produce villages or gathering enough wood to even make storehouses. But that'll come with experience. We're all there one day. A long time ago. In a galaxy far, far away. Alright, well, we'll be a bit, and I might get Smeagol versus Deadpan going, and maybe a better opponent for Frank.